what the rest of us, like myself as an openly gay person, gay man, face is nothing compared to what transgender people face in this country. And our community needs to be divided, and we cannot be divided amongst ourselves when this hateful kind of vile language happened to so many that are already suffering from severe challenges and disadvantages in this country. Now, we know that the subcommittee is tasked with oversight of our federal health care policy, food and drug safety, and monetary policy. All important things, but instead, of course, we're focused on the cruelty towards LGBTQ plus people at the federal level. Now, our voters have sent us here to address our country's biggest challenges, but instead we are once again going into battles and trying to move our rights backwards, not forward. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to waive on this hearing today. I think it's important to have different perspectives, and certainly before my time being here in Congress for this last year, I served as mayor of my community, but before that, most importantly, I worked for 10 years on a college campus, and so I understand very well what the experience of my former students have had and what being an athlete and having those experiences also means for so many students. Let me also just say that the advancement for women in sports and athletes has been incredible, of course, over the last few decades. And I've seen even my own institution, the university where I worked at, the ability to transition and encourage women's sports, to fund sports in a way that's equitable for all of our students has always been really important. And so I celebrate in advance how far women athletes have come, and sports for women across our university systems and community colleges has really something to celebrate. I also think it's important as an openly gay person to recognize that our community, especially trans people in our community, are constantly being attacked. And I know that some folks have said that, or being called bigots, or fear there is bigotry, but there is a lot of bigotry, particularly against people that are trans in this country and against the LGBTQ plus community. Now, our voters have sent us here to address our country's biggest challenges, but instead we are once again going into battles and trying to move our rights backwards, not forward. We know that the majority oftentimes goes back to moral panic and inciting what I believe is violence and hatred towards gay people, and we've seen this playbook over and over again. Now, sports need to remain a place where all LGBTQ plus people can feel free to play and to be accepted. We also know that LGBTQ plus people are underrepresented in sports, and particularly trans and non-binary athletes. There are fewer, by the way, than 100 trans and non-binary athletes in NCAA sports out of over 250,000 athletes. So the 226,000 athletes that participate, we're talking about less than 100 actual people. And I want to remind us that there are less than 1% of people identify as trans in the United States. When you look at the whole population, I believe it's 0.4 or 0.5% identify as trans. So what we're really talking about here is a very small percentage of the population that are constantly being attacked and attacked and attacked over and over again. And we know that for trans people, their lives are already in danger in so many ways around mental health challenges and access to health care. Now, Ms. Goss-Graves, is there any reason to think that people are transitioning, often completely radically changing their life and their health just to gain a competitive advantage in women's sports?
There's absolutely no evidence of that, and actually putting that notion out there in a formal setting with policymakers sends a really terrible message. If I could just say one thing about what I hope transgender young people who may be watching this hearing know. And that is this sort of legislative bullying that they may experience in their states, or they may have heard in these halls, is not where the majority of the people in this country are. In fact, the vast majority of people see right through it and don't like that bullying.
And I agree with you. You may or may not know this, but there are more Republican and far-right bills moving through legislatures and through different bodies across the country than there are actually trans kids and youth playing in sports across the country. And so the attacks that are happening, we should be ashamed of. And as a reminder, as I conclude, half of trans and non-binary youth struggle with thoughts of suicide every single year, and that's what this hearing should be about versus the attacks on trans athletes. I yield back.